Good morning, beloveds. I got vaccinated yesterday. Yay. I went to St. Luke's. There were signs everywhere. It was very easy. And they actually weren't requiring us to wait the 10 or 15 minutes. I opted to go ahead and give them the 10 minutes because there was not going to be anybody home other than these guys when I got home. And interestingly enough, I have been aggressively snuggled by all but one of my cats since I got home yesterday. Like, to the point that this one, I woke up multiple times last night, weather change, and she was asleep in my lap, which is awkward because then you can't move. So, yeah. And it's like they just keep coming and checking on me. And at one point I was sitting on the couch and I was leaned back against the couch, and one of the cats got up on the back of the couch, and literally he laid down on the back of the couch, put his paw right where my vaccination was. It was interesting. So my little fur nurses were very attentive, and are still being very attentive. Part of the reason why I'm late today, because one of them was sitting in my lap and I was like, I need to get up, but she was purring, and it's hard to make a purring cat move. I don't know about you, but I feel guilty. So, but yeah, Johnson & Johnson. I am now vaccinated. And outside of the fact that my arm is a little sore, I feel fine. All right. It is April 11th. Our title is I Work with the Power, Intelligence, and Joy of Divine Mind. And the Bible quote is, Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. From Psalm 23:4. Surrounded by good, I walk this day in peace. The mind and love of God support me in every decision I make and in everything I do. It is impossible to escape from the presence of God, so it is impossible to lack for any good thing. All that God is mine this day. It supports me, it enfolds me. I feel this eternal presence of love. Like David, the psalmist, I know that the rod and the staff of spirit are bringing forth my demonstration of truth. The mind and the law are mine to use today. They will produce for me my sincere desires, for they must create what I choose to think. I turn in thought to God, knowing that his instant response is assured. I give thanks in advance for my healing. I accept my good from God. There is joy in my heart and hope in my thinking. I shall never again be blocked on my roadway of expanding understanding. I am joyous, for I know that I am never defeated and never repulsed. God's action through me is victorious, and my demonstrations come to pass on time and in order. This is the joy of living according to truth. I am encircled with the armor of truth. I walk through the presence of God. I work with the power, intelligence, and joy of the divine mind. Everything blesses me, and I bless everything. I cannot fail, for God himself created me and acts through me. My word is the law unto my universe, and I speak words of truth. Sustained at every moment by love, I live in peace, work in joy, and relax in beauty. All is well with my soul. All right. I'm not sure if I have any initial thoughts on this one. Let me think about it for a minute. Okay. Surrounded by good. Well, okay. I work with the power, intelligence, and joy of the divine mind. That's one of the things that we want to remember, is that when we are doing treatments and just in general living life, how much better life would go if we remember what mind we're using. Are we using the divine mind, or are we using the confused material mind? They talk about elevating the thoughts. It's like, get your thoughts up above the material confusion and think, if I could have this be any way, how would I want it to be? And then focus on that, not what it is. It's like, yes, it's messy, but that really seems to be what I keep hearing Ernest say is focus on the solution, focus on the solution, focus on the solution. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on the solution. Where your attention is where your power is. And so when you're focusing on the solution, the problem is taking care of itself. It's like it's not that we're not acknowledging the problem. It's just like we're taking the power away from it by focusing on the solution. Okay, surrounded by good, I walk this day in peace. I mean, what I think I'm really enjoying is that they start each day off with a pretty effective mantra. If you say, surrounded by good, I walk this day in peace, as a mantra, it's like just anytime you feel yourself, and I'm going to use the word spinning out, and say that to yourself, surrounded by good, I walk this day in peace, it would help ground you. And they do that every day. I am always sustained by a perfect God. God is where I am, and in this presence I am secure today. I accept my divine destiny. I am secure in God. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of this book. Okay. The mind and the love of God support me in every decision I make and in everything I do. Okay. The mind and love of God support me. The mind and love of God support you. Always. Because God doesn't judge. God does not judge. And that is the beautiful thing about, the kind of relationship that we have with God. Because we recognize that we're a part of God, and God can't judge anything that is, for God to judge us, we'd have to be outside of God, and we're not. So therefore, the mind of God and the love of God will always support us, but it is up to us to use them. It is impossible to escape from the presence of God. We've heard that before. So it is impossible to lack for any good thing. There's nowhere God is not. So what that means is, if there's something that you desire, you always have the ear of God, the ability to reach God to ask for it. It is, to some degree, up to you to ask for what you want. And then to follow through with. It's like, okay, this is what I want. But then you can't just sit there and wait for it to come to you. You got to go out and hence treat and move your feet. This is what I want. Now I'm going to follow the guideposts and the signposts to get what I want. I'm going to go out and do. Okay. All that God is mine this day. It supports me. It enfolds me. I feel this eternal presence of love. I feel this eternal presence of love. That's the point of spiritual practice. The point of spiritual practice is to sit down and feel that love, to feel that mind, to feel that joy, to go to that place where you meet the unfiltered God, to get away from the mortal noise, the material chaos that we are frequently immersed in, and to feel that love and fill up on that love and bring it back to here. Like David, the psalmist, I know that the rod and the staff of spirit are bringing forth my demonstrations of truth. The mind and the law are mine to use today. The mind and the law are mine to use today. They're ours to use every day. And when we use them within their nature, they're very, very effective. And when we misuse them, interesting things happen that aren't always good. So it is up to us to learn how to use them, to learn what their nature is, and to learn what our relationship with God is. That's sugar sneezing. They will produce for me my sincere desires, for they must create what I choose to think. What I choose to think. And that right there is the key. They will produce, the mind and the law will produce what I choose to think. So what are you thinking about? Which is why I say, focus on the solution, not the problem. Think about the solution, not the problem. I turn in thought to God, knowing that God's instant response is assured. I give thanks in advance for my healing. I accept my good from God. Now there's he says it right there. It's like God's listening all the time. God is going to respond always. Is it the response we're expecting? Not always, but we'll get a response. I give thanks in advance for my healing. There's no power greater than gratitude, because gratitude is just another word for love. And then that last line, I accept my good from God. That right there is a key. When your good shows up on your doorstep or on the sidewalk, or you got to accept it. It's like you got to expect it and you got to accept it, because we can treat all we want for other people, but it is still up to them to accept the treatment, to accept the good coming to them. There is joy in my heart and hope in my thinking. I shall never again be blocked in my roadways of expanding understanding, because I know that I have access to a source of knowledge that is beyond anything. So there's nothing that can get in its way other than me. Other than me. I can get my own way, and that's it. God will find a way. Spirit will find a way. I am joyous, for I know that I'm never defeated and never repulsed. Even if it looks like I'm being defeated, I'm still learning, and my good will come to me in a different way than I was expecting. And that's hard. That's hard to let go of the how. To let go of the how. My job is what? Spirit's job is how. So sometimes even when it looks like defeat, it's not. It's simply Spirit finding a different way. God's action through me is victorious, and my demonstrations come to pass on time and in order. And everybody who has ever done a treatment and then sat there and waited is like, yeah, well, on time and in order. Which frequently means God's time and in God's order. And that's why we say patience is a virtue. And I will either say patience is a virtue and I get to practice it a lot, or I will say patience is a virtue and it just doesn't happen to be one of mine at this point in time. Yeah, I know. This is the joy of living according to the truth. I'm encircled with the armor of truth. I walk through the presence of God. I walk through the presence of God. The armor of truth is the knowledge of who you are, where you come from, and what you have access to. That's the armor of truth. Knowing that you are surrounded by and enfolded within that divine mind, and therefore whatever it is that you are chasing, wanting, desiring, working on, you have it through the truth, through that divine mind, through the presence of God. You are walking in the presence of God always. I work with the power, intelligence, and joy of the divine mind. I work with the power of. So when you are working on something, what are you, stop for a moment and think, what am I working with? I'm working with the divine mind. I'm working with the divine joy. I'm working with the divine intelligence. I'm working with, level up your game. Up level your game. Everything blesses me and I bless everything. Again, level up your game. I cannot fail, for God created me and acts through me. Remember who you are. My word is the law unto my universe, and I speak words of truth. And I've heard him say that. I've heard him say that before. My word is law to my universe. My word isn't necessarily law in your universe. Your law is your word is law in your universe. I mean, quantum physics says that we all live each in our own little universes. We create our universes around us all the time. So your word has law in your universe. And to a degree, nobody else's words have law in your universe unless you grant that. So keep that in mind. The true power of a curse is the power you give it if somebody tosses it at you. The person who tosses the curse doesn't power that curse. You do. So in your universe, that you have all of the power and nobody else does. Nobody else does. Unless you grant that. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with interesting people. They have no power over you unless you grant it. Sustained at every moment by love, I live in peace, work in joy, relax in beauty. All is well with my soul. And that right there is kind of, sometimes that's all we've got. The world can be a chaotic mess around us, but our soul is okay. Because there's nothing that can touch our soul. There's nothing that can touch the core principle of us. There's nothing that can touch that which is the Christ consciousness within us. So, our mission, should we choose to accept it? I don't even know. Oh. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to turn in thought to God, knowing that God's response is assured. Pray in faith believing. Pray in faith believing. Or treat in faith believing, if you prefer that word. Believe that you have the power in your universe. Believe that you have the power. And you're a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased. So of course you have power. I mean, you're wearing the armor of truth. And that, like I said, is knowing who you are. All right, beloveds. So I'm going to encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself today. I say it every day. I mean it every day. That is a spiritual practice, to do something loving, kind, and compassionate for yourself. Whatever it looks like. If that means a nap, if that means eating something really amazing, if that means going for a walk, if that means catching up with a friend, if it means calling your mom. Or, I called my mom yesterday. That's why it's on my mind. And she was very relieved to hear that I had gotten vaccinated. I was actually surprised at how relieved she was that I had gotten vaccinated. So that was my kind, loving, compassionate for myself yesterday. We'll see what it is today. All right? So I do mean it every day. Practice it. Practice it. The more you practice on yourself, the more you will have to share. That's how this works. That is absolutely how this works. It really is about looking in our own eyes and seeing God looking back at us. And then looking in each other's eyes and seeing God looking back at us. And then looking around us and seeing God everywhere we look. It takes practice. But we got time. All right, beloveds. I have not been outside today, but the phone app said it's a little cool out there. And it's definitely cooler in the house. It also looks beautiful out there. So do something to engage your mind. Open your windows. Let some fresh air in. Get some sunlight on your face. Do what you need to do to enjoy today. You don't have to make it a fantastic or wonderful day. You don't. You can make it an okay day. But do something that you enjoy. And Open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you do live in heaven now. The more we look for it, the more we see it. The more we see it, the more there is. And that's how we create a world that works for everyone. All right, beloveds. It is Sunday. That means that we will have a fantastic service for you right here on Facebook Live at 11. And it will be up on YouTube later at the Creative Life Spiritual Center YouTube channel. These talks are archived on the Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel. Pretty much daily. Pretty much daily. So they're there. Sorted into playlists to make them easier to find. And Reverend David will be on around 5 p.m. on Facebook Live as well. So do what you need to do to make it your best day, whatever it looks like. All right, beloveds, know that you are loved.